Ghana's fast-growing private sector could be growing a lot faster if it had a dynamic and efficient public sector to depend on. Much of the public sector as it is now is in fact a drain on the economy, and nothing will change unless comprehensive reform is undertaken now. There is nothing new about public sector reform. Government after government have carried out one reform program after another, but the reality is, it seems to be going from bad to worse. The private sector is invariably referred to as the engine of growth. However cliched that statement may be, it's true. Anywhere in the world, enterprises drive the economy. With the delivery of services and products, whether in the fields of agriculture, mining, manufacture, or commerce, the private sector creates wealth, employment, skills, and sustainable development.
The intensity of that activity is very necessary, okay, and the efficiency of it is very necessary. The value of all of those goods and services is very necessary because that's what moves a nation.
But this doesn't happen in a vacuum.
The private sector, the economy, needs the state to, first of all, be the arbiter, be the one who brings the rules and regulations, the one who ensures that there's equal opportunity, the one who ensures that everybody has a chance, but then the one who also ensures that the players there, the entrepreneurs, the private sector people, the business people, the professionals, that they have what it takes in order for them to succeed.
As the implementer of government policy and the facilitator of service delivery, this is the role of the public sector. And according to Martin Mensah of Casapreco, it's failing hopelessly.
To be honest, there are some very, very successfully aggressive and proactive agencies. Almost everybody else, I must confess, and it's a sad thing to say, but almost every other agency is a hindrance. It just we see them as putting impediments in our way, and we have to work around them all the time.
Bureaucracy is good for discipline, but people have used the bureaucracy now as a vehicle to exploit, to extort, to corrupt, and to defraud.
Strong words from John Awuni of Finatrade, and a sad indictment of a country upheld as a beacon of sound economic growth. But let's face it, it's no secret that public servants in general are underpaid, unmotivated, and largely inefficient.
How bad is it? Go to the ports. How bad is it? Go and try and get a passport. How bad is it? People can go and get 2 or 3 or 4 different driver's licenses. People park their cars anywhere, cause deaths. They walk away, right? You have people in different offices. They go in when they like. They go home when they like.
You go to the harbor, raw materials are coming in. You've got 40 containers of glass bottles arrive because we don't have a glass bottle factory in Ghana. So 40 containers comes in. And 40 containers is, by the way, is about 2 months of production. So they arrive at the thing, and because they are all containers of the same item, they are supposed to be scanned by this X-ray scanner at the harbor. It's broken down. So whether I'm out of bottles or not, and they can't open and inspect every single bottle, we have to just wait till somebody comes and fixes the scanner.
Nigerian businessman Toksa Bimbola started a company in Ghana 3 years ago.
I think from my perspective as an entrepreneur and building a business in Ghana, I would like to have things done yesterday, but I think the climate we operate in does not allow that.
GATCO is the largest rice farm in Ghana.
I'm clearly a farming operation, and a container comes in and it clearly contains farming implements. And so, I might have 4 different types of plows. It's probably pretty simple to understand that, that particular container contains 4 different kind of plows, and that the spare parts all service that particular plow or a particular tractor. So there's this sort of toing and froing between, I guess my clearing agent and the customs officer about, what exactly is this equipment. I'm happy to have questions asked about what we're bringing into the country, and rightfully so. This is the job of customs. But I would prefer if our responses were treated urgently, and I would prefer if we were able to resolve matters in a pretty efficient, business-like manner.
Typically what I'm finding more and more every day is that business people are learning how to cope without government. And therefore, the benefit that we could derive from having government as a partner, as a stakeholder who sees himself as a partner to business, as opposed to a stakeholder who sees themselves as only a regulator. And I think that's a very fine distinction. You find that government agencies are very proactive, very active when it comes to, as it were, finding out things that have been done wrong. So for a manufacturer like us, we interface very much with the Food and Drugs Board, the Environmental Protection Agency, and such like. And the only time you hear from them is when they're writing a letter to say, oh, by the way, there's a drop of something that we found in the water behind your factory, and it's a problem. And I think it's a really missed opportunity, because can you imagine a situation where you met them on a regular basis, they came to you and they said, listen, what are the problems that you face? How can we help you get over these problems? Provided technical input, guidance, and not wait for things to go wrong before they came to point them out. I think it makes a whole lot of difference to what business can do.
The public sector is completely divorced, alienated from the private sector, and the private sector is literally at the beck and call of the public sector.
Inefficiency aside, red tape and cumbersome bureaucracy is choking the system, says John Awuni.
The issue of permits, it takes you endless effort in order to be able to get a permit. And so, for instance, a company that is operating, the company is aware that, well, repackaging of rice, for instance, I need to get a Food and Drugs Board permit. I need to get a Ghana Standards Board permit. Well, I need an EPA permit. Then you get all these permits. You think that you are done. You are certain you are operating perfectly. One day, factory inspector units from nowhere appear and tell you that you need to get this permit. And they say, well, if you don't produce the permit, we shut you down. Indeed, at the end of the day, when you look at all the permits you are supposed to acquire, the cost of it, it is so outrageous.
The point of the matter is this, that government has no other source of revenue than taxes. Government can say anything they like, but the only reliable, plannable source of revenue is the taxes that individuals, and to the largest extent in Ghana, corporates pay to government. Now, I think when governments begin to understand that their main source of income is industry, is business, and therefore it makes sense from the enlightened self-interest point of view for business to boom, generate more money for you, then it changes the perspective, it changes the mindset, the attitude towards business.
Wishful thinking in the face of rampant red tape.
The only thing that government can do is either make things happen or not make things happen. And I think, for me, from my point of view, it's the not making things happen that is really what the red tape is all about. And so you ask yourself, is there a causative link? In other words, we build bureaucracy to find ways of making something for ourselves.
Every public sector worker has privatized his or her corner. As we speak now, somebody is taking money from somebody for a land document to be registered. Somebody is taking money from somebody for some meters to be released. Somebody is taking money from somebody from some container to be released at the port. Somebody is picking up some money from somebody from a driving license to be issued. Are we saying we are not aware about this?
It's something that very few people want to talk about, let's be honest. You see, I mean, it's a reality of our system. And very often we try and brush it under the carpet, because by talking about it, one may end up suggesting that one does it. And many companies will stand up and say, actually, it's our policy not to do it.
We have a zero-tolerance policy to corruption. We have a zero-tolerance policy to bribe-taking. And so I don't deal with it. We understand the regulations. We understand the law. We know what we need to do as a business to be within the law. Now, if anybody has some calculated mischief in mind, they will certainly have to demonstrate that we are outside of the law. We're a very professional organization, so we make sure that we understand the requirements of every country we operate in, and we follow those requirements to the letter. So we have not, I mean, obviously, I'm sure there are challenges all over Ghana, but I personally have not been faced with being asked to pay to obey the law.
No offense meant, but it's only a matter of time, says Martin Mensah.
Let's not kid ourselves. There is graft in this system. It is a problem. It is a huge problem. It is so bad that it's taken as normal.
what we are basically experiencing is complete systemic collapse, systemic failure that nobody wants to confront.
I think there's corruption in every system in the world. But where it really becomes a problem is where it becomes a part of the cost of doing business. It is a very, very significant cost that doesn't appear in any books. It doesn't appear in any books whatsoever. And therefore, it becomes something very difficult to root out. You can't see it. Everybody you say, have you ever given a bribe? No, of course not. We don't do that here. But I can tell you, there is no company in Ghana that can operate on a day-to-day basis without, at some level, from the lowest to the highest, coming across this problem and having to make a judgment call. Do I do this and get on with business? Or do I say no and watch things turn the other way? And it's a very difficult place to put business people in.
We keep on talking about good governance, just in theory, because I don't see how good governance can be achieved on the platform of failed systems.
When the bureaucracy, the machinery is weak, it is not efficient, is backward, nothing works. But it takes leadership to recognize that that is the problem.
Changes. You know, public service delivery is an issue of continuity. The impacts will only show with time.
Alhassan Azong, Minister in charge of Public Sector Reform.
Public servants who deliver services to the private sector will have to consider themselves that they are paid for a job. They are not paid to treat people as objects. They should also understand that the money that is used to pay the public servants is come from the private sector. They pay taxes.
Minister Zong has strong ideas about what needs to change, but so have many before him.
Over the years, we have had various public sector reform programs. Quite often they are projects. And a program and a project has a beginning and has an end. But innovation doesn't end. Reforms don't end. So you must have an institution, an organization that is fully resourced, that consistently, continuously seeks innovation and brings reform.
In line with this thinking, the previous government created a Ministry for Public Sector Reform with sweeping powers to enforce change. But that didn't last long.
There were a lot of complaints that the minister said they didn't know what was happening in their various MDEs. And they didn't really see the reason why a minister who's in charge of public sector reform will come to their MDEs and tell them to do 1, 2, 3.
The point is that some people believed that public sector reform was make work. Some people don't want it. Okay, some don't want it. I'll give you one simple example. When you challenge people and say that, well, we will not pay your electricity bill, we will not pay your telephone bill, we will not pay your water bill, we won't give you petrol, but we will pay you a lump sum as a minister, so that at the end of the month or during the course of the month, you can do whatever it is that you want. Well, many don't want that. Many just want to do as is done today. Whatever my phone bill is, somebody pays. Whatever water bill is, somebody pays. Okay, who is going to make that happen? So when you have someone forcefully driving that kind of change, well, other people say, well, look, this thing is too bothersome. They cause trouble. Okay, let all of us take responsibility for change. You kill it.
Today, in place of the ministry, is the Public Sector Reform Secretariat, located in the office of the President. The responsibility now lies with individual ministers to nominate and initiate reform in their own sectors. Stripped of its ministerial status, many are skeptical of the Secretariat's ability to bring about change. But the bureaucrats, whilst acknowledging the challenges, are hopeful.
The civil service in particular has suffered quite a lot from attrition, high attrition rate. Yet, the Public Sector Reform Secretariat has, through support from various development partners, been able to revamp its ability to train civil servants, especially in the higher echelons.
But that is to provide motivation. But in addition to motivation, you also have to apply innovation through the use of technology so that the work can be done faster, quicker. Okay? It is when it's slow. It is when we're using manual typewriters in this day and age. It is when a human being has to go across, the road or somewhere to go and look for a physical file. That's what provides the opportunity for those who want to do the wrong thing anyway to have that opportunity. Okay? Those are the things we must look for.
The minister agrees.
But I think one of the problems that we have to pursue and prosecute as a nation is introducing ICT to most of our processes.
According to the bureaucrats, that process is already underway.
We can mention institutions like the Registrar General's Department that has improved their processes for registration for businesses. 24 hours. Passport Office has been able to also modernize its processes and so has also gone electronic. I must acknowledge that there are difficulties, there are challenges, but you may have to have time and go to the harbor yourself and see what used to be and what is there currently.
So we did, where we spoke to Alhaji Yusuf Ibrahim, Assistant Commissioner of Customs at the Ghana Revenue Authority.
Where we are coming from, if we look at the processes and procedures, I'm thinking that we are now about light years ahead. Where we are coming from, the manual, the way of doing things and the way we are doing things now. Now they do the paperwork. Is, using pen to write to minute is out. These days, if you are not knowledgeable, you are not computer literate, you have no business in customs.
Next up was the Registrar General's Department, notorious for red tape and lengthy delays. Things certainly seem to be looking up here too, with a minimum of queues and apparent prompt service. Then on to the DVLA, where the Secretariat assured us significant improvements have been made. But clearly things still take time.
You see, we woke up from bed, you've told your mind that you are going to DVLA to apply for a driver license. That is your intention. There's no need for you to do the thing hurriedly and go away. So why the need to hurry up?
According to frustrated clients, little has changed.
The way they've made the whole system cumbersome. You come and you are in a hurry. Things are not getting done for you. And time is money. You need to go and do something. And nobody is, attending to you. So when you see somebody who comes to you, can I help you? You are tempted to, because you have to leave. So it's not anybody's intention to really resort to agents or guru boys. If they make the process work well, it will be better for all of us.
We then moved on to the Passport Office. Despite the fact that we'd been given permission to shoot here, we were unceremoniously evicted.
No, don't touch our camera. No, don't touch the camera. Oh, what the
It's very important that we quickly restore confidence to the civil service, and it can be done by putting in a little more effort into capacity building, training, boosting the morale. These must be pursued, without too much delay. Otherwise, one might find that there will be very little to salvage.
It is the responsibility of government to resource the public service, the civil service for that matter. It is a responsibility of government to see that the civil service or the public service is a partner. Government must not subtly or in some other ways politicize the civil service. And over time, excuse me to say, that is happening. So you don't see the civil servants coming out and giving off their best as they are required by their training and upbringing to do.
What the country needs is a non-partisan workforce that survives regime change and delivers continuity. For Martin Mensah, the solution is clear.
Leadership is key. Leadership is the answer to everything. I think courage that comes from conviction. People who know and understand. that they are accountable. They are accountable for the kind of system that they create. And to solve the problem, we actually need very, very smart people. Very, very sharp people. And we have them. We must just unleash them to do what they have to do. Excellence is not being pushed. Excellence in public sector, excellence in private sector must be recognized, rewarded, and promoted. And we'll see a big difference in the way the country turns out.
And the earlier governments sit up, the earlier leaders sit up, the earlier those people who really think that they have the interest of this country had sit up and confront the situation headlong, they're better.
But it is us, the people, who are allowing people to go and sit there in government, in charge, who don't produce the results that we want. And we accept it. When we decide that enough is enough, we want change, we want reform, it will come.
True enough. But ultimately, it's in the hands of government, which must have the political will to put its money where its mouth is.